good morning. We just got to set. We just unloaded a big truck of things, which was exhausting. And the day hasn't officially started yet. I'm gonna show you us setting up all of the cameras because today we are filming our first actual on-location shoot for Pixel Circus. And for some reason, I decided that our first on-location shoot should involve 12 different cameras and them all running simultaneously for an immersive horror LARP. So let's go do that. Hello. We're sitting outside for a tranquil moment, which will probably be the very last moment of tranquility for the entire rest of this day. So we are, I would say, about 10% set up at this point, but look, I got a little slider in the backyard. Isn't that fun? I'm having a lot of fun with a lot of new toys for this. We've got most of the cameras in place and we have most of our people arriving. The cast doesn't arrive for a few more hours. And it's very hard because the cast are all of my lovely best friends and I have to keep a million secrets from them so that it's immersive. It's very interesting to have a goal for a production and look around and say, well, what do we have? And what do we need? And how do we get it? And what don't we need but we'd really like to have? And how much of that ends up being the final thing? So this started as an idea back in February because I felt like immersive horror is so much fun to experience, but it's definitely not a spectator sport. People say that about all kinds of LARPing, which is like the nerdiest way to describe what we're doing today. It's not a spectator sport. It's not fun to watch, it's fun to do. So I was trying to think of how we find the medium between something that's so fun for players to do that maybe people at home don't have the opportunity, whether it's knowing people who want to do a horror LARP with you, or maybe, you know, you don't want to actively be in it, but you want to watch it. I feel that way about a lot of horror content. I love scary movies, and the idea of something like this, knowing the incredible stories that my friends tell in these improvised horror scenarios, I was like, okay, well, how do we make that? And today we are making it, I hope. So I believe the whole rest of our crew just got here, so I am gonna go in and get them. I'll take you with me, I think. Okay, yeah. As long as I'd like to test it, I'd like to see and kind of figure it out. The cool thing is because we have a wide of the room and you can see the fireplace in it, when you're like cutting back and forth between these, you're gonna have that like, wait, where the fuck is the camera? And you'll realize it's in the fireplace by like context clue of the security camera wide, I think. With their power.
The one who returns is the one who will save you?
Danny?
It's gonna be kind, okay?
Okay.
Whatever gets us through this night.
Throw
is
my
this ritual.
ashes here
Okay.
if they do. Hi, we just finished a little interview.
How do you feel like you did? You think you got the job?
Yeah, I think that I could probably be hired for Pixel Circus.
Oh, good.
We have a.
Wait, don't you own that?
This is a form of nepotism.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Watch
a
your
bit,
head.
it's a bit tight. It's a bit tight.
Okay, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna.
Can you go
Pretty
sideways?
good though.
I can go sideways.
Sideways is gonna be the way.
Yeah. Oh, sideways is way closer at least.
Tuck it.
Oh, just that little bit of hair peeking out is terrifying. It's the clue for the game.
Oh,
Do you think they'll
yeah.
spot it?
I know I have that roll somewhere.
She's clearly like gone on the
I know.
She's just like, there!
Hello.
Oh,
It's so good.
This place is
You guys look so good. There's like a built-in sauna over there.
Hey Carter.
Hey, Carter.
Hey, Carter.
Hey, Carter.
Hey, Carter.
Hey, Carter. My dearest Carter. I miss you. I hope it's beautiful where you are.
My headspace been weaker, it's been waiting for the right day. Like the right day ever comes, now it's Friday. And nothing's changed. Mistakes that everyone is making, but I can't change. I'm stuck in reverse like an old Benz. Forgot to tap it up. Now I long for another day where things fall into place. So if you're down, I'll be down. Pack your bags, fill them up. We can go tonight, take a flight to a higher ground. How does that sound?
Okay, so we did it.
We made it.
We filmed a LARP, the thing everyone told us not only that we can't do but shouldn't do. It worked.
Yeah. It all came together so fast. I can't believe it happened, but
Yeah. So for a little bit of context, because most of this video has just been like B-roll and behind the scenes and watching on set, Alex co-wrote They're Here With Me. It's very funny. We sat down and we talked about the idea, and originally it was like, if you need help on tech, that'll be great. Alex runs tech for one of our productions, and we kind of went back and forth, and there was a night where I was like, I desperately need to say words at somebody and have someone make sense of them. And Alex was kind enough to do that for us.
we just spent hours sitting there talking about it. Like, this idea would be fantastic, and we'll give them like these hints, and
Yeah.
it worked out. There were many layers of character building, relationships, background building, location, and setting that we didn't even see, but that was still in the minds of all.
I think one of the biggest things that does not ever get clarified in They're Here is it's not aliens.
No.
It's not aliens.
We talked about the idea of these horror monsters that get revealed too early and take away some of the suspense of what they actually are, but we really wanted the Aunt Pam storyline to be a lens the players get to witness the strangers through. And Aunt Pam is quite a character. I think she was kind of our starting point, like our entry into the story as we figured out who she was.
From the beginning, when I started putting the idea together, I knew that I needed a way to be in game as like a facilitator, but also as somebody who was able to be privy to more information in the story than the players were. Like something justified in world for that. So we created the character of wild old Aunt Pam. And coincidentally, the day that we went prop shopping,
So funny. We went to a Goodwill together. We're like, let's just find some little things, some accoutrement, ephemera to throw around the house. We walked into the back aisle of this Goodwill, and Sadie was like, is that an urn?
and it sure was. So this was a $20 Goodwill urn that became Aunt Pam. And I'll be honest with you, there's some dust in there.
We're not sure. I mean, listen, it was sold to a Goodwill,
Yes.
right? We checked to make sure we didn't just pick it up from somewhere.
Right, but because Aunt Pam was kind of our like leading storyteller in this, what we also were thinking about is like the limitations of the human mind when you're dealing with paranormal issues.
Yeah.
So when it came to the paranormal, the chances of a human being on Earth in the same lived world that we live in,
Yeah.
interpreting this correctly is so slim.
Fairly small. But we do see that Aunt Pam is someone who collects a lot of information. She's a researcher. She's
Yeah.
very smart. She's very, very intelligent. She just didn't quite hit the nail on the head.
Right. So we built out a character that was like a conspiracy theorist and somebody who was really into the concept of aliens. So to her, everything was aliens.
Yeah. I actually want to show this off because I don't think you get a
We didn't
good
get to see it on
glimpse
the
of
stream
it.
at
But this
all.
is a friends and family album of Aunt Pam's, and it's just full of pictures of aliens. Here, just like these are something she collects. It was on her desk in the
Yeah.
office, and there are
gonna
these clues on
take
the
a
back.
video of it.
Yeah, where it actually spells out garden, which is a reference to a videotape that had another clue inside it.
The fact that it was labeled friends and family, honestly, had nothing to do with the story. It was just funny.
Just hysterical because we wanted to create this eccentric character that I think that's one of my favorite parts of horror movies is that like one kind of like older queer woman who seems to always know what's going on. I love that
Yeah.
character
It's a great trope.
Yeah. Throughout the entire day of getting set up, we were just like cutting these out. I was writing all over these, pulling images together. We can actually see that some of the ephemera has been like ripped up by players, like scratched around.
Open the trunk. A personal fave, this one right here,
Yeah.
was stuck to a wall behind a computer monitor, and you would only see if you looked at yourself in a camera monitor. And there was a little bit of justification to have cameras in world because she was somebody who experienced a lot of paranoia. So when we were thinking about camera angles, we had one that I was like, I'm okay with seeing this camera. You never want to see a camera, typically.
Yeah.
But in this particular shot, I thought it would be a fun moment for us to utilize something that was already in the space, which was a TV monitor connected to a computer. And we set up a camera to it so that we could utilize that as like an adjusted angle. One, we get the actual footage of that really weird and disturbing and disorienting angle. And then we also get the players' reactions to seeing themselves being perceived too, which is kind of like
That paranoia, that suspicion.
yeah, and like kind of a fun little reference to what we're doing, honestly, because so many
Yeah.
of the camera angles were intended to capture the like security camera kind of vibe. It was trying to recreate surveillance and the feeling of being watched. We want you to feel like you're watching through a camera.
And the theme of masking and being witnessed is a big part of this. When we were talking about how we would build out characters and character sheets and what we would ask the actors to bring to the table, the first thing we came up with was a pride and a paranoia. We really wanted these characters to be centered in something that was core to their identity and what they were afraid of and suspicious of around them.
So everybody had a little notebook with a photo and some information. They had a chance to sit down before the game and write things about the other players that they learned from kind of like our session 0 time, where they all sat together and they character built and built relationships.
Yes.
But also in these notebooks was information that only the actual people have and the strangers would not have. Information about the school that they went to, some of the traditions that they had, some information that should be shared in world between these 10 people, but if you were a body snatcher, you might not have picked up. We had very, very incredible players that were playing the strangers, and one of the first things that Elise, who was playing one of the strangers as Riley, did was she picked up someone else's book.
Yeah.
And she read it and she got the information. Because we said, like, you can lie and cheat your way to the finish. That is allowed in
We absolutely encouraged it. There were lots of things we encouraged the strangers to do, both through pre-game work, but also within the game. There were these messages that we were kind of leaving for the strangers, these things like their symbols that were around on pieces of paper, or things that said like, they hide among you, they're faster in the dark, find them, giving the strangers this idea that they are supernaturally powerful.
Yeah, I absolutely loved getting to use our dear friend Becca Scott to play Carter.
Yeah.
So as far as the players knew, it was just kind of like a cheeky thing because everyone in this game knows Becca. Becca's a friend of all of ours. So when they saw the first pictures of her, they were like, oh, okay, it's Becca. That's like
Cute.
This person who will not be in the game, who became a lot more relevant throughout the game, and especially at the end when we actually snuck Becca into the house and had her appear and surprise all of the players.
It was so wild. I was wondering if there was going to be some camera angle that would pick up Becca and I just running around behind the house, like sneaking under the cover of dark. There was actually this moment where we got locked out of the gate by accident, and then Josh had to sneak around and let us in, and the three of us just kind of snuck around to get Becca mic'd up. It was hysterical.
Absolutely phenomenal. And we do have also the mic audio of all of that because it was recording the whole time, which is so incredibly funny.
And what was the shoot day like for you?
I think I spent at least 5 hours just printing things out, writing things up, cutting them out, and writing all over them. This ritual that we created, I wrote that on the day. Sage and I had talked about wanting to do an amazing ritual at the end, both because it's wonderful to film and to stage, but also because we also love like a spooky ritual. We're spooky people. We love scary horror movie stuff like that. All of these little pieces of ephemera that I'm just like picking up and throwing around, they all have writing on them that I did on the day. They hide among you. They have to ask to be let in. All these little tropes and things. And then once filming started, I was literally crouching in that kitchen occasionally, like looking out from behind a side door or pulling aside a little black curtain to kind of peek in and just listening to the chaos that was happening. We had this whole video village set up in this tiny little kitchen with monitors and sound people just like hiding around the house in order to look at the multiple rooms that we had spread out around.
Right. Is there anything else that you want to get in here? You feel like you...
I just wanted to say how much it meant to me to be part of this. It was an amazing experience working with Sage and all of my friends, these incredible actors. I also got to set this story in Maine, which is very dear to me because I went to college in Maine. So we talked about this reference of Stephen King, that atmosphere that you get from being in Maine. So this really feels like a story that wed my East Coast writing background and a West Coast like interactive tabletop scene, studio, live play, improv, all of these different themes and elements together.
Yay, okay.
Hello. Back in February, when I had the idea for They're Here, I spent a long time on trying to figure out what the technical hurdles would be before I brought anyone the idea. And I'm talking like my best friends that I work with. I didn't want to present them with an idea that I didn't know how to make yet. So I wanted to do this behind the scenes to show the process of making a lovely thing with my fun best friends, but also to show how if you wanted to do something, whether it be like this or just have aspects and elements of this, how you could do it too. Okay, so for background, in case this happens to be like the first thing you watched from us, we are an entirely independent production company. We literally are, for the most part, 2 people. We started our Twitch channel in 2020, and in February of this year, we opened our very first studio. So we're in my studio right now. We've been filming everything in here since February, and of course, as soon as we got our own space, I was like, what if we did something somewhere else? So this shoot was the first time we had ever filmed something outside of these walls that we're in right now. To do something like this involved taking all of the equipment out of this studio and taking them to a beautiful house that we rented in Beverly Hills. I want to talk a little bit about how we did that, what we used, and the actual like technical specs and details. Everything that you saw, every single camera, all 10 cameras that were rolling, were BlackMagic cameras. For the most part, it was these, which are the same ones that we use in our studio. These are the BlackMagic Pocket Cinema 6K cameras. For this, we needed lenses that are very wide, so that way we could capture that kind of security camera angle. You want something that gets as much of the room as possible. And all of them are a little bit askew and imperfect because it feels a little more found footage-y. In film, there's a lot of conversations about like objective and subjective angles, and somehow I really do think a lot of the angles that we got for this are kind of right down the middle. Objective is the angle that makes sense, and subjective is the angle that kind of doesn't. And I think we used a combination of both throughout it. So pretty much all of the security cameras were on an 11-14 lens, which is as wide as we could go without going to like a fisheye, which is a little more Y2K skate video than a horror movie. So these were the cameras throughout most of the house, but in the places in particular where we really wanted to hide the cameras, where we were worried about them being seen on other angles, or where we were just really worried about them getting in the player's way, we used the micro 4Ks from BlackMagic. And the body for those is like the size of a golf ball. It's really, really cool and made it very, very easy to hide the cameras in the space. On one of them, we actually have it mounted on the door frame, so it's right behind you when you come in. And when we were walking through the space, if you just walked around in it, you don't really feel the presence of the cameras, which is very, very cool. One of the things that I knew was going to be the toughest to accomplish in the technical production of making They're Here was going to be sound. So we covered our bets in 2 ways. We had lavs on all of the players, and we also had boom mics in all of the key areas. We kind of had to guess where people would gather. We set up seating arrangements thoughtfully to try and encourage people to gather in certain areas, but it's improvised. You never really know what people are going to do with it. So we had multi-directional boom mics over the coffee table area, the dining table area. The audio that you end up hearing on They're Here is a combination of boom and lav audio, because we also layered a lot of things where multiple people were talking at the same time. So by having the boom mics in the room, we were able to lower those to give the background chatter. You don't want to see someone's mouth moving and not hear it at all. That would be disorienting. But you do want to be able to pull out and highlight the most important things being said at that time. I love learning when the skill is applicable. I had a very specific vision, and I knew that I would have to learn how to do a few more things to accomplish it. And I knew I would learn from doing it as well. So They're Here was kind of like a pilot for us on learning how to do not only like on-location production, but an absolute feat of on-location production. One that like the rental houses that I went to pick up some lenses looked at me like I was absolutely cuckoo bananas for. When we do things like this, it makes me feel like we can do anything. Which sounds so cheesy, I know that it does, but I don't feel like there's any idea that we could have and put our minds to that we couldn't solve how to make. I hope this encourages you to try whatever it is you want to make. All in all, I think you could accomplish this in a lot of ways. If you wanted to shoot on your iPhone, I've been recording a lot in the BlackMagic app, and that's been really lovely. And if you wanted to do something kind of found footage-y for something like this, you could even justify players holding cameras and filming each other during it. And I would love to see what people do with that. I hope you get out there and make something cool. And I hope that any of this information helps you. And a huge thank you to BlackMagic for making this possible, because I really do mean 12 cameras. So thanks guys, that's rad.
So cute.
Okay, we are gonna call a cut.
A more selective memory loss or lack of detail to recollection. Jim Hanaway sat down with a man who says his wife has been affected by this phenomenon and now insists he doesn't know the woman in his home.